What if I told you becoming a millionaire has surprisingly little to do with earning a six-figure salary? Sounds wrong because we've spent years believing the opposite. More income equals more wealth, right? Not exactly. Here's something strange. Some people earn $300,000 a year and never become millionaires. Others earn less than half that and quietly retire with more money than they know what to do with. So what's going on? Is it luck? Better investments? A secret side hustle? Not even close. After studying thousands of everyday millionaires, researchers found something unexpected. Most of them didn't invent the next Apple, they didn't win the lottery, and they definitely weren't timing the stock market. Instead, they followed a handful of boring habits, habits so ordinary, most people ignore them, which is exactly why they work. By the end of this video, you'll understand the 4 habits that quietly separate people who build wealth from people who spend their entire lives chasing a bigger paycheck. And if you're starting later than you'd hoped, you might be in a better position than you think. But first, we need to clear up the biggest misunderstanding about becoming a millionaire. Ask someone to picture a millionaire. What comes to mind? A mansion, a luxury car, designer clothes, private jets. Basically, someone who looks rich. There's just one problem. That's Hollywood's definition, not reality. Here's the truth. A millionaire isn't someone who earns $1 million. It's someone whose assets are worth $1 million or more after subtracting what they owe. That's net worth. And that tiny distinction changes everything, because income is what comes in, wealth is what stays. Think about it. 2 people earn exactly the same salary. One spends almost every dollar. The other invests part of every paycheck. Fast forward 20 years. Who has more freedom? It isn't even close. See, becoming wealthy usually isn't one life-changing decision. It's thousands of tiny decisions, repeated over and over again. Which leads to a surprising question. If wealth isn't mostly about income, then what actually creates millionaires? Researchers decided to find out, and the answers surprised almost everyone. One of the largest studies of millionaires ever conducted surveyed more than 10,000 people who reached millionaire status. Researchers expected to find the usual story: massive salaries, family money, perfect timing. Instead, the data told a completely different story. Nearly 8 out of 10 millionaires received no inheritance. Most didn't come from wealthy families. Many worked surprisingly ordinary jobs: teachers, engineers, managers, accountants, small business owners. Nothing about their careers looked extraordinary. So if it wasn't inheritance, and it wasn't an enormous salary, then what was it? Here's where things get interesting. Researchers kept seeing the same patterns, again and again. Not better stock picks, not gambling on crypto, not getting lucky. Just 4 simple habits. Simple enough that almost anyone can follow them. Difficult enough that most people never do. And the first one, ironically, has nothing to do with investing. It starts long before your money ever enters the stock market. So, what's the first habit? Saving more? Investing earlier? Finding the perfect stock? No, it starts before any of that. Millionaires create one thing most people never notice: a gap. The gap between what they earn and what they spend. Sounds obvious. But here's the problem. Most people treat every raise like permission to spend more. You get a promotion, so you upgrade your car, move into a bigger house, order takeout a little more often, add another subscription. None of those decisions feel expensive individually. But together, they quietly erase your raise. There's actually a name for this: lifestyle inflation. Your income goes up, your lifestyle follows, and before long, you're earning more than ever. Yet somehow, your bank account looks exactly the same. Ever wondered why a raise feels exciting? For about 2 weeks, that's why. Your brain adapts faster than your savings grow. Now here's what millionaires do differently. When they get a raise, their investments get a raise first, not their lifestyle. They pay their future self before upgrading their present self. It's a tiny shift, but over 20 or 30 years, it changes everything. In fact, one of the biggest findings from that millionaire study was surprisingly simple. The overwhelming majority consistently lived below their means, not because they hated spending money, not because they enjoyed being cheap, because they understood something most people don't. Every dollar has a job. Some dollars buy experiences, some pay the bills, and some go out into the world and earn more dollars. Those are the employees you want to hire. Because here's the truth: wealth isn't built by making more money. It's built by keeping enough money to put it to work. And that's where the second habit begins. Make investing boring. When people hear the word investing, they usually imagine this: watching stock prices, reading financial news, trying to predict the next Nvidia or the next Bitcoin. Basically, trying to be smarter than everyone else. There's just one problem. That's not how most millionaires built wealth. In fact, it's almost the opposite. They made investing as boring as possible. Think about it. If every month you have to decide, should I invest this month? Eventually, life wins. The washing machine breaks, a holiday comes up, Christmas arrives, something always feels more urgent. That's why successful investors remove the decision completely. The money leaves their account automatically before they have time to spend it. No emotions, no debating, no timing the market, just consistency. Because consistency beats intensity every single time. Here's a question. Would you rather invest one huge amount once or a smaller amount every month for 20 years? Most people choose the first. Millionaires usually choose the second, because investing isn't about making one brilliant decision. It's about making one good decision hundreds of times. Imagine pushing a snowball down a hill. The first few meters, nothing exciting happens. It's tiny, slow, almost disappointing. You could even convince yourself, this isn't working, but keep pushing. Eventually, the snowball starts growing by itself. That's compounding. And this is where people get fooled. Compounding doesn't look impressive until suddenly it does. Let's put some numbers to it. Imagine investing $400 every month. Not once, every month, year after year. If your investments earn something close to the stock market's long-term historical average, after about 25 years, you could have around $750,000. Keep going just a few more years, and suddenly you're looking at seven figures. Not because you found the perfect investment, not because you got lucky, because you refused to stop. And that's exactly where most people fail. Not because they picked the wrong investment, because they quit right before compounding had a chance to do its job. Here's something nobody tells you. The hardest years of investing are the first few. You save, you invest, you check your account, and almost nothing seems to happen. After 6 months, you wonder if it's worth it. After a year, you start doubting yourself. After 2 years, you're tempted to quit. But think about it. Imagine planting a tree, then digging it up every weekend, just to check if the roots are growing. Sounds ridiculous, right? Yet that's exactly how many people treat investing. They expect a 20-year process to produce life-changing results in 20 months. The early years aren't exciting. They're invisible. But invisible doesn't mean unimportant. Those quiet years are the foundation for everything that comes later. Because compounding rewards one thing above all else: not intelligence, not perfect timing, patience. And if you're worried you've started too late, the next habit might completely change how you think about your future. Stop looking back. If you're a late starter, this is probably the hardest habit of all. Not investing, not saving, letting go of regret. Because there's one sentence almost every late starter has said: I wish I'd started earlier. And they're right. Starting at 25 would have been better. So would have buying Apple in 2003 or Bitcoin in 2012. But here's the question. What does knowing that change today? Nothing. Regret is expensive. Not because of the past, because it steals action from the present. Think about two people. The first says, I'm too late. So they wait another 5 years. The second says, I can't change yesterday. So they invest their first dollar today. Fast forward another decade. Who wins? Not the person with the better excuse, the person who started. That's the irony. Starting late isn't what keeps most people poor. Waiting even longer does. Every year you delay becomes another year. Compounding can't help you. So stop asking, when should I have started? Start asking, what's the smallest step I can take this week? Because wealth doesn't reward perfect timing. It rewards consistency. And there's one advantage late starters rarely recognize. Believe it or not, starting later isn't all bad. In fact, you probably have something your younger self didn't: perspective. When you're younger, it's easy to confuse looking rich with being rich: a nicer car, a bigger house, the latest phone. You assume success is something people can see. Then life happens: bills, unexpected emergencies, career setbacks, maybe even financial mistakes. And suddenly, your definition of wealth changes. Now, you don't want to impress people. You want peace of mind. You don't want a flashy lifestyle. You want options. The option to leave a stressful job, the option to help your family, the option to retire on your own terms. Ironically, that's the mindset that actually builds wealth. Because once your goal changes, your decisions change too. And that leads to the final habit, the one that separates income from real financial freedom. Build things you own. Here's a simple question. If you stop working tomorrow, does your income stop too? For most people, the answer is yes. That's because a salary has a limit. You trade time for money, and there's only so much time. Millionaires think differently. They don't just work for money, they slowly buy things that work for them. That could be index funds, dividend-paying investments, a retirement account, a rental property, a small business, digital products, or skills that generate income long after the work is done. The goal isn't to quit your job next year. The goal is much simpler. Each year, own a little more, depend a little less. Here's my favorite way to think about it. Imagine every dollar you invest. As a new employee, that employee never sleeps, never calls in sick, never asks for a raise. It just keeps working. One employee won't change your life. 10 won't either. But hundreds, thousands, now you've built a workforce, one that's creating income, even while you're spending time with your family, traveling, or simply sleeping. That's what ownership really means. Buying back your future, $1 at a time. So let's put everything together. Becoming a millionaire isn't about chasing the highest salary. It's about building the right system. First, create a gap between what you earn and what you spend. Second, invest consistently, even when it feels boring. Third, stop measuring yourself against the past. The only investment that matters is the next one. And finally, own more things that pay you instead of only relying on things you have to work for. Notice something? None of these habits require perfect timing. None require a finance degree. None require predicting the next hot stock. They require something much simpler: doing ordinary things extraordinarily consistently. Because here's the truth. The next 20 years are going to pass, whether you invest or not, whether you start today or tell yourself you'll start next month. Time doesn't wait, but it does reward people who use it well. So here's a better question than, can I become a millionaire? Ask yourself this instead. What's one financial habit I can automate before this week ends? Because that one decision could quietly change every year that follows. If this video changed the way you think about money, let me know in the comments. What's the first wealth habit you're committing to today? And remember, starting late doesn't mean finishing behind. It just means today matters more than ever.